have mine right here on a stick.
I'd like to call to order the salary committee on Tuesday the 28th at 6:15 p.m. with council members, myself, Jim Seldenwright, Kelly Ricklick, and yeah,
I'm here.
what's that?
I'm here.
You're here? Yeah, Kelly's here. Dean Holland, who is not with us, is excused, and Amy May, who is excused also. Purpose for tonight's meeting is the reading of Ordinance 3, 2022. Proposed ordinance number 3, 2022, and 5, 2022, and discussing of the non-bargaining salary scale for non-bargaining city employees. I'd like to open it up with questions or comments from the committee.
Just wondering where all these positions stand. Council, I don't remember them being on our scale or our chart. So if the job is created, when was they created, and did we approve the money for those jobs? That's the only question I have.
Okay. So as of right now, I'd like to, we'll read ordinance number 3, proposed ordinance number 3, 2022. That was proposed by Auditor Gundy in January. An ordinance to approve the $22,033.39 paid to the custodian, D. Srweski, and additional 1,656 hours worked and $21,669.99 paid to custodian M. Inhurst for an additional 1,629 hours work due to working additional hours in response to unexpected medical leave for another employment and due to there being 27 pays in 2021 and declaring their pay rate for 2022 and 2023 declaring an emergency. This is presented by Auditor Gundy. This had come up because we had a medical leave and we needed hours filled. Both those individuals stepped in and filled those. It was brought to council, or brought to the salary committee, that in order to set a pay rate rather than use the hours worked rather than going back each year, that was discussed. Any questions or comment on that?
Mayor, what's the hours them guys usually work a week? Is it 28 or is it 30?
For full-time?
No, for these two gentlemen, Srweski and Inhurst.
What did Beth say the last meeting?
That's why I forgot what the,
Because you guys had it all figured out the last meeting.
yeah, that's how we
Did
came up with that dollar
you-
amount.
Yeah,
Yes.
whatever
I thought
you
it was
guys.
20.
Okay, I just
That'd
want
be
to make, I'll ask her
It was
then.
28 hours. It was 28
Yeah, it
hours.
was. I remember.
28
she
hours a
said.
week? Okay. That's all I was trying to get at.
Any questions from council or administration on that?
Yeah.
On the
Uh,
custodians?
Yes. Do I have a motion to bring ordinance 3, 2022 to council?
I can make a motion to, have ordinance 322 placed on next council meeting's agenda and have for 3 readings, hold for 3 readings, and passage on the 3rd reading.
Okay. Can I second that motion?
Okay?
Call to vote. Kelly Ricklick?
Yes?
Myself, Jim Seldenwright? Yes? You guys wanted to say that?
You just
So
did.
ordinance number 3, 2022 will be sent with those conditions. Before we get into ordinance number 5, proposed ordinance number 5, 2022, I think Mr. Ricklick brought up a good point there on a couple of these. I know we had tabled the discussion for the assistant water department superintendent, the assistant water superintendent at our last meeting to be discussed. And I know there have been questions to multiple members of this committee on certain positions as well as addressed in all council. I think before we can take into consideration that ordinance, we need to understand where some of those positions sit. So, Mr. Ricklick, I know you had some questions, if you'd like to address them.
Yeah, there's some of those positions, even though they may have been paid by a grant, I was under the understanding the council has to accept that grant money, no matter what the amount of dollars is. And if it is used for a position, just like we did for the SAFER grant, the fire department, we had 3 positions that we voted on, that we agreed to increase the fire department by 3. And I think the second time was either 3 or 4. But these positions here, I don't ever remember them coming to council we were bringing anybody on full-time. I was only understanding that we were in need of people temporarily for COVID. Now I see, correct me if I'm wrong, I see 4 positions there that are full-time in the health department. I see the water one, we tabled that, and it still was put out like we were hiring somebody. There's nobody should be even put in that position. The fire chief presented the assistant fire chief, and then that kind of went away and had not heard nothing else about it until just now with this. So I just guess I need some explanation of these positions. I need some explanations of what their job duties are. I need to know what do they do during the day? You know, what's their routine day? What's going on with these positions?
Chairperson, Sutton? I'll answer to the ones that I have.
Yeah, please do.
So let's go with Assistant Water Superintendent, Assistant Wastewater Superintendent. Like I said at last meeting, right now what you have there in that department is you have that same wage and considered a assistant in the water and wastewater department at that rate. Like I had mentioned last meeting, James Marolda had left in January, so that's when we made the decision to say, hey, it's time to, wait, let me go back, because James leaving, the water department was paying half of James Marolda's salary. He takes care of backflow out of that position, out of the health department. So he has 100% of one of these positions in his payroll. So then we look at, so let's go down to Assistant Wastewater Superintendent. If everybody remembers, the last meeting I talked about the SWIP program being overwhelming at best.
Mr. Becker, can you explain what that program is?
Yeah, it's a stormwater protection program, and so every allotment now that even goes in, if you're building 3 lots, 5 lots, whatever lot goes in, a gas line project, anything goes in, it has to have stormwater management to it. It's very, very labor intensive. So instead of falling behind the times, we thought we'd stay ahead of it. Again, now with the assistant wastewater superintendent, did we know at that time? No, we didn't, because James decided to retire in January. But we would have brought this up in October or something like that when we first decided to do it. So it isn't nothing that would have been brought up at that time, because James decided to retire when he did. That's the decision that we made at that time. Again, if you look at these, you have one of these positions in right now, he's just doing both jobs. But one is a full salary already being paid for because of, he was paying James Marolda's salary anyways, for doing the backflow. Now the new, if we would ever hire somebody in this water superintendent, he would do the backflow also for us, take that on. And then for the, well, first let's go with any questions on that, and then I'll go to the voting and zoning code administrator.
I mean, we're basically going to what we were before, we just had a qualified enough person that was able to handle both the wastewater and the water superintendent. Now we don't.
No, he does, but it's the workload. And with James leaving, if James never leaves, we're just gonna probably stay
I
status
mean, we
quo.
had the two positions before.
Yeah, oh yeah, yours, I think you probably worked
For
on yours.
years.
You had an assistant, right? Yeah.
2001
Yeah.
is when it went to just one.
No, we had
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
We had two. We had assistant superintendent on both the water and the super.
Tell me the names.
I don't know the names.
I was the superintendent, that's what I'm saying.
I can't remember.
You weren't when I came on council. You weren't the super.
I did not have assistant then.
Well, you weren't on the water and the superintendent then. You worked for Billy Schools when I got on council.
I was superintendent from 1999 to 2013.
Yeah.
11, excuse me, 2011.
After 2000, yeah.
Yeah. He did not have assistant water superintendent at that time.
Okay, so with both of these positions, so I understand it's there, is there certain, I mean, do they have accreditations that allow them to be handling these projects? I mean, I guess what's our base criteria we have to have? And the only reason I ask that is just looking at it, so, and these are just pulled off on a national, or like an Ohio average. Water superintendent for Ohio is 63,911. And now I'm all for bringing in the best talent. I mean, I think if we can afford it, I think if we can pull from someone who's going to be in a bigger city, it helps us, better cost of living, it's phenomenal. I think if we can do that, we should. Do we have the workload to separate between those, to have both of those salaries supported? And, I mean, are there credentials that, do we have to outsource anything? Do we have to go through the state of Ohio as administrative paperwork? Or if we bring somebody in-house, are they able to authorize a lot of these, whatever zoning or anything they would have to do with these new projects?
Let's go with water department first.
Okay.
With, the assistant. He will now take over, again, what James Maralda was doing with the backflow, which, he'll have to be backflow certified. And then naturally he'll have to have a, minimum of a class 1, water operator's license
Okay.
to come in. Now, the assistant that's in the wastewater, that would go to the wastewater, he has 3s, 3 in water and a 3 in wastewater. I feel his strength is wastewater, so that's, and he's been taking care of, the SWIP plan, as best he can. But I see that there's some things that are slipping by us, on our last report even, so. Is there enough work there for him? Absolutely. I think there was enough work there the last, or 20 years or whatever, since they didn't have it years ago, when they did away with it.
So really any type of new projects that come through, I mean, it's just going to compound through to the workload.
Right.
What versus what's already on, okay.
Ronnie, did they change the criteria for the SWIFT program?
Oh,
Is that why
it's,
it's?
yeah, it actually,
The workload?
yeah, great question. Actually, it just came on board to where it's this whole, we hadn't passed an ordinance, I think it's 16, 17, or 18. And now it's just become, they keep adding more and more and more, the workload. You have to go out weekly, there's a checklist that the assistant would do, from silt fences to making sure that they have gravel down 60, 70 feet, but I forget the actual footage, so that they're not carrying mud out on the road. It's a whole different, animal than, just say, 10 years ago. So, I mean, I would never, I guess, make this suggestion if I think someone was gonna be sitting on their hands down at the water or wastewater plant.
Okay. Any other questions on those positions?
No, the other question, not the other question, the other information was, we bumped the salary up because the assistant was in 2 different departments. We bumped that salary up to get higher than what the usual was because they were doing in 2 different departments.
Okay.
Because they were carrying 2 different licenses it. I think Eugene Griselli was your first one that did it. I think before that, you had Mike Scarlatti was the assistant prior to that. And when Mike left, you had, I don't know who you had in there then, but then it became Yogi on both sides. Eugene was
Did we
doing
hire
both sides.
Mike? Or not us hired Mike?
No, Mike went to be the assistant wastewater superintendent. Then when he retired, then, I don't know who I said, I don't remember who they put
Yeah, I
in there
don't
at that
either.
time. But then I remember when that person left, that's when there was nobody in either one, and that's when Eugene became the assistant in both. He carried the title of both
Right,
when you and the mayor came in.
yeah.
And then we bumped that salary up to what it is now because he was running two different departments, because of his workload. So now if you're gonna split it back off, I think that needs to be looked at and discussed also though then. That's why it was put up. Because I was on the salary committee when those numbers were being discussed.
Just a base question, we refer to a scale, and which, I mean, the numbers presented, and maybe it's looking at these differently. Is there, like, in a hiring process, if I was applying at a firm, I'd have a $55,000 to $65,000 range. Are these numbers set based on?
They're set.
So
Council
it's.
set those.
Okay, that's, all right, that's what I wanna make sure, because referring to a scale, I instantly think, okay, you can make
No,
between here, you can make between here, and that's just in general, not so much here, it's just the example I can.
Because if I remember, it might have started in, I might be wrong, 20 or 19, then it just went out to 24. So it just said pay scale,
Okay,
and that's how they just got the pay scale. Where there was no, you come in, you're 10% less or anything, whatever that is, that's what you was at.
okay.
I disagree with that statement, because what we discussed was, when Mr. Murtis was here, we would give the high number, and the mayor would take their credentials after his interview and say if he is missing something, he could put him in like a 3-year to gain his credentials to get to that point. That's how we left that we would leave that up to the mayor to, when he interviews, he likes this person, but let's just say he needs to get his water one license, but he doesn't have that. He has his wastewater license. So the mayor would say, okay, you get a year to get it. We're gonna notch you down a couple thousand, which helps us pay for his schooling. Bumped it down. When he gets it, then he'll jump up. So we put that in there. That's how I remember it being with Mr. Murtis, was supposed to give us those numbers. I saw a little bit of that. I didn't see the final things because it was not complete then, which was also including job descriptions, which I've never seen job descriptions for all non-bargaining. I have requested that information from the human resource, that I get that and all the council members get a copy of all the job descriptions on file. So we can see what those are, so we can look at those before we have to make any decisions on any of these. Because I don't think I should make any decision on any of this without a job description and what's expected of them and what will they be doing at their position.
I mean, I don't disagree with that logic. So if it is set like that, what was the criteria it's based upon? Is it reviews?
I've
Is
got to
it?
tell
is
you
it
that, to me, it may have been something that the mayor had, but all I see in that scale is, you see it across there, nothing, no other language in there. So all you're gonna go by is that scale. If
That's up to
there-
the
if
mayor
there's no
to
other-
determine. That was up to the mayor to determine.
But
That
what
was the
I-
highest you
I guess
could
what I'm
go.
getting to is,
He can pay him the highest. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But
No,
it
no,
was
no,
him
let me
to
finish, please. Let me finish, please.
interpret by his,
let me finish, please,
the individual.
please.
Mr. McRae?
Right here with these superintendents, I've heard things that I don't know if they're, assistant at 65 is grossly underpaid. That, I just say that. I have a class 3 in wastewater, and you can go just about anywhere and make that. So I will
That was at the
combat
66.
that decision that council made years ago when they set that wage. again, it's at council's will, whatever they'd like to do with that, that's fine. My last point is, I believe they're worth every bit of that. And I don't, alls we go by is the pay scale. There's no other dialogue or language in there that says anything about 1%, 3%, or 10% down from that. So naturally, you put up the job, it just went that was what you got paid.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah,
sorry.
Mr. Baker.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to add that if memory serves, and the mayor can back me up on this, Mary Kurtz did substantial research into what these positions were getting paid across the state in similar sized cities.
I think Dean did that,
Dean and I did that.
yeah.
I can tell you that fact.
I remember Mary Kurtz.
Well,
She
yeah,
did
but she-
job
Yeah.
descriptions.
She
the
was
HR
working on job
director provided, data for the commission.
Mr. Murdis was the one that was giving us some of the numbers.
Yeah, through, yeah, through the HR director,
I just remember they came from someplace.
right.
They-
But
you
the
just
ordinance,
Throw them out there.
the pay scale that was included in, with the ordinance set the rates.
Correct.
There was no variation beyond those rates. No language in that legislation that gave the mayor any variation on what can be paid.
And I think as salary, I would like to put that into I'd like to make an ordinance that would say that. I'd like to discuss that with you further, Mr. Sullivan, as the chair, that allows the mayor to do that, and we'll put it in writing in an ordinance that he needs to look at their criteria, because if they don't have the credentials and he's our best candidate, he needs an incentive to get to that number. The high numbers, I'm fine with him paying that if he has all the credentials. If this person needs a credential, let's take a building inspector. Let's use that one. If he needs some credentials in a building inspector, but he's a great individual, because I think building inspector is one of those. If he needs some credentials that he can be an enforcer of the laws in building, then we should be able to lower his wage. And then as he gets his license and credentials, the mayor bumps him up. Whether he does it in 3 months or 6 months, he knows where he has to be. I think that we need to do those things. That goes in any private sector. That's how it's set up. And that's what the reasons we increased everybody's wages here, because they wanted to be like private sector. They wanted to be like a business. Let's run this like a business. That's why we were told we were gonna get evaluations of the employees. I have not seen an evaluation yet of any employee that's a non-bargaining person, that we were told that we would see those. If my memory serves me right, that was one of the criterias. And if any of you that's been here remembers that, please speak up, because that's what I remember.
They
And I-
were supposed to get, excuse me, but they were supposed to get evaluations before they got the next raise.
Yes, thank you. That's what I
That
remember.
was part of the discussion.
Right.
That
That's
is
what
an
we-
administrative function now. I mean,
Right,
it's not
right.
council's job to,
No. We weren't doing the evaluation.
We weren't.
The mayor was doing the evaluation.
The mayor was.
Yeah, for the people that were directly under him, and as it goes downhill, I would say then the service director would do the people under him, the superintendents would do the ones under them. That's how I interpret it. I guess it was not wrote down and in writing, which I think that, if that's what we need to have, I think that's what we need to have. Because I
All
think it-
employees were supposed to get an evaluation from what I
Yeah, by their
remember.
immediate supervisor.
Right,
They
right,
were
right.
good. The mayor wouldn't do a sanitation individual, the general service
Right.
person would do that. That's what I was interpreting it, that's how I remember it. I still to this day have not seen one, and I think we passed the wages back in,
19,
thank you.
I mean, I'm still, as a non-bargaining employee, you're still at will of the mayor. I mean, our job is to set the rates, compensation. Other than that, it's administration calling what they're gonna pay that person within that means. That's just the maximum.
That's what I agree with that, Dan.
So, I mean,
totally agree.
other than that, I
That's
think
the
it's
maximum he
micromanaging.
can
I mean,
pay
that's
them.
not our, our call as council to do evaluations, or that's all administration.
Right.
But I wanna see the evaluations, I have a right to see it as,
If there is one.
yeah, there should be one. How-
That's
how
an
do you-
administrative call.
How do you have any input on that employee, whether good or bad?
I mean, it's
if you
not
don't
our
do
choice.
evaluation?
We don't do the interviews. We don't hire or fire
I'm not
You know.
discussing that. It comes down to disciplinary action if you need to, and you have no evaluations, you have nothing to go on. It's protecting us as council as it is protecting the mayor as the mayor. And as it is protecting that employee. I believe there should be evaluations of all employees as were put upon me where I worked. I was evaluated all the time except at the city of New Philadelphia. I have an annual evaluation. I think that should be done.
Mr. Fate,
Yes.
to your recollection, was there any language of such in that?
I was pulling out the old one to look at,
Old one,
actually.
okay.
Are you referring, Councilman, to ordinance 19/2017?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yes, I have a printed copy of that one, actually. I was looking for the one in 19 that was passed. Under section 2 of ordinance 19/2017, that's what directly gave the mayor the authority to adopt a salary scale. Under that, any changes or modifications to said salary scale shall be reviewable by the full council of the city of New Philadelphia each year as part of the fiscal budget process. And the purpose of that was to remove this from the focus on the individual and the focus on the position, to hire the most qualified people. And that's why it was made part of the budget process, so that you're looking at the position, not the individual.
So,
And that
But
was the basis for.
Wasn't there something in 2019 that set
I was
this?
trying to find that when you mentioned 2019, I was trying to look that up on my phone to see if I had it.
Okay. Because what I recall is that, yes, Mr. Mayor, that was set. You know, it was, the ordinance passed and set this.
Right.
But during the discussions, I advocated for, you know, like a ceiling and a floor for each position. So when this came about, that's the way I interpreted 2019 rates were floors for new hires. 2023 was the ceiling. And yes, about the evaluation. So that's what I interpreted. So I know these new positions that are being proposed here are just strictly based on the salary scale. Nothing about ceiling and floor and ceiling.
No, there's no
It's
range.
just per year,
There's no range. The salary scale set the annual salary.
yeah. And there should be, I think there should
I
be a floor and
advocated
a
for that at
ceiling.
the time too.
Do you want me to send it to you?
so
Yeah, please.
Okay.
before we go any further, so this brought up this whole discussion brings up another question. So we've been focusing on the two positions in the wastewater and in the water department. There are
I have one more
two.
about the fire chief if you have.
No, please. No, I mean, yeah.
Because we've had a meeting on that, we've had the fire chief in, and the majority of council's kind of not really excited about the fact that the compensation package being as the same as the union, because the fire chief's the only one that gets that compensation package.
That's right.
So, I mean, that was did we change that?
It was never adopted by council.
I know, but I mean, as it is.
No, this is
This
strictly a
this is straight up
non-bargaining.
non-bargaining, okay.
Same as
Anybody
any
that's
other
non-bargaining should
Same as
get
any other non-bargaining,
yes.
Except for the fire chief.
except for the fire chief.
Okay,
You are
that's my
wrong.
question.
So that should
Yeah.
change, actually.
So as of right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8
I always
positions.
put them up here. All the time.
I know the two that we've been discussing are, we won't call them up in the air, but haven't been filled, right? These would be open positions. Have any of, are these, any of these filled at the moment?
And then if I can, Mr. Chairman, I'll talk about the other one that I can talk about, the building and zoning code administrator. That's the other one in my stable. You want me to talk about that one?
Is that position filled at the moment?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
please do that. Please do that,
Okay.
Mr. Fate.
Can I have a question real quick?
Yes, Ms. Ramos?
I got at one time Mary sent job descriptions from most of these, but we haven't gotten it for these two new positions. Is there a job description available for I'm talking about the assistant wastewater superintendent, assistant water superintendent that we can have, and the other position new.
Sure. Just, I asked her to send us all job
Oh,
descriptions.
okay.
So you're copied on that, and you'll receive one.
Okay,
From
all right.
Lacey, right?
From Lacey.
Okay, I sent the right person.
So in all
I got
the
where I sent the
new-
wrong person.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, because I was
Positions,
gonna
okay.
say, I'll
Yeah.
tell her to send
I
it.
asked her to send
Sorry,
one to
thank
each of
you.
us, so then we'll be able to look at them. And again, I want that to look at, to base it upon what we're doing here. I want to do this right. I don't want to do this 5 times.
So, Mr. McAvoy, if you want to address the other one,
Okay,
the other
yeah.
position, please.
And I'm probably gonna mess up whenever the building and zoning code administrator had retired and he was part-time, and I'll mess it up. So I'm gonna say, let's say July of 21.
Yeah.
And, as anybody, at City Hall would know, or I guess anything on council is gonna know, what that job has become. It's definitely a full-time position now. We've just got another place tore down today on, St. Clair. Josh has been doing a great job with, a local, contractor that has, in one of our known landlords that continues to pop up on the radar. 3 of his homes he's put pressure on and was able to sell to this contractor, which comes in and turns them completely around. One of them is by East School. Matter of fact, one of Marvin's prosecutors, Lacey K, bought that house. We have the one right now that is over off of Fair Avenue, over off of 4th Street. That if you go past that house, it's gutted. It's gonna look fabulous in the next 2 or 3 months. You look at Tuscarora Avenue, we have one over there that's been empty right beside the Milburn house, the old rest house. It's been empty since I've had this position for 6 years. The same contractor between working with Josh and the heat that we've been putting on the certain landlord has turned him to finally sell this stuff. And will continue to do that. So when we made this decision to go to full-time, the mayor and I talked and thought it was a great time to do it. And that is why we chose to do that at that time.
Okay, just for the sake of time, we'll let Mr. Fate go, and then we'll address that.
All right, just to clarify, point that you had asked about, Mr. Chairman. Ordinance 19, 2017 is what authorized the mayor to establish a salary scale. And there's nothing in that refers to, there's nothing in there that refers to job descriptions. Other than to say job descriptions of which are on file and available to the public through the Director of Human Resources. That is in there, but there's nothing in there. It actually gives the mayor great leeway in establishing the salary scale and modifying it, and directs that it's to be handled through the ordinary course of business as part of the fiscal budget process. Ordinance 22, that was ordinance 19, 2017, that was adopted in 2017 with the goal of becoming a modern city, okay? And ordinance 22, 2019, which I think Councilwoman Ramos is referring to, that was done specifically for the purposes of enacting pay rate increases for those non-bargaining positions that were established by virtue of the salary scale that the mayor enacted. And the reason behind that, the policy rationale behind that is because those positions hadn't been, for years, through 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, your bargaining units kept getting raises by virtue of their collective bargaining contracts. But the people supervising them actually had salaries that were way behind the people they were supervising. And so 2019 was done to correct that. And that's where the research was done. I think Dean Holland did that, I think you did some of that.
But Mr. Murdis did give us some information, because we checked with him to get some information from him. Because he did a presentation.
And that's where we looked at comparable cities to see what others were making so that we could put them on par with it, so.
To be competitive.
Ordinance 19, 2017 authorized, that's what adopted the salary scale. That's what authorized the mayor to make adjustments to it. It gave him tremendous leeway to do that and said that that is to be addressed through the normal bargaining procedures. That ordinance does mention that for the positions, those would be on file in the Human Resources, Director of Human Resources.
I agree.
2019, all that did was enact a salary pay increase for those positions from 2020 through 2023. And that's all it did.
So does it keep so if we have the 2021 or 2022, it's 65,322? The mayor has to pay that? He can't,
We
or
voted.
does it say that in
In
the
19,
ordinance?
we voted, those were the wages we voted for, yes.
Okay.
What we just so we get clear, it's not those, it's if he would have to hire, say, Mr. McAveer left, he's gonna hire another one. He could start him lower to get familiar and then bring him up at his discretion, yeah. I'm not telling that we have to have, you start here the first year, you start. That's for him to say, but he needs to say, these are the criteria. This job description says he has to have this, this, and this. He has this and this, but you don't have this. Okay, so he says, hey, I give you a year to get it, and I'll bump you up to the full one. That was my interpretation, is how it was gonna, and we were leaving that totally up to the mayor, because that is his job. We set the maximum amount. He is to look at the individual and say, hey, you need to get some education. It may cost the city to educate that guy $5,000 a year. So why pay him and then add a $5,000, just lower his wage by the $5,000 to pay for the education? When he gets it back. He gets the money. So it's an incentive to get I'll use credential as the thing.
Yeah.
So he has what he needs to fulfill the job description. Because you can find, sometimes you can fill a whole job description, but there's a lot of times, hey, they're strong in this, but they have very weak in this, but they need some help in that. So why not allow him to lower this wage a little bit? Then once he gets that, to give him incentive, then bring him up to the full scale. I think that's a smart way to do business.
But isn't that we'd have to amend that ordinance or have a new one?
Exactly.
And this ordinance 5/2022 doesn't even, it just sets the scale. It doesn't say, okay, well, the mayor can-
5/2022, we have jobs on here that we haven't even, they're not even
Correct.
on our scale.
Right.
There is no funding for those positions, because we do not have.
But if there's any way
funding for
around it,
them.
we'd have to go back to the one that Marvin just read from 2017.
Or we just
to
make a
give
whole
the
new
mayor
one.
that.
We just make a whole new one,
Right.
whichever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's correct.
whatever,
I don't-
whatever the number may
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, the council would have to amend that. They would, and keep in mind that the reason these were set wasn't to bring somebody in so that the mayor could give them a lower one. It was to bring in the most qualified person and pay them what they're worth, what they're making in other cities.
That's
Yeah,
all
To
correct.
be competitive
Yeah,
with
That's all,
everybody else.
that's all correct. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But he may have a great person that's coming from a different field, but he needs the
The
education for what he
ability
needs.
to obtain.
Right. He has the ability to obtain. And I think, I don't know who Josh is, but I hear good things about Josh. He could walk in the building here, I wouldn't know who he is. I think it'd be better if we know who our people are, so we see them on the street, we know who they are. And I don't know, can he enforce any laws? Josh, does he have any credentials
Yes.
to it?
Yes.
He has all the credentials to enforce it?
He has the city ordinances that give him that authority.
He does it in conjunction with me.
Well, yeah, but not like the fire department has, Schultz has a building of the international building code. He can enforce.
He's got a housing code that he can enforce.
Yeah.
And I drew up the criteria by which he can get warrants to go into houses to inspect them. We didn't have a full-time person that was able to do that. Josh is a former police officer, he's ideally
Yeah.
situated. I was one of the people that's been pushing the mayor for years to get me a full-time person.
And that's, what- I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But does he have the criteria, if we go to court, has the correct credentials that he's capable of doing that? Because if you're prosecuting from the other side, and he doesn't have anything for buildings, and all of a sudden he's trying to enforce a building code that he has no knowledge on, we're gonna lose. That's what I'm saying, does he have all those credentials?
Well, I'm the one that makes sure we've got everything that's necessary for the.
But I'm asking,
I
does
mean, if
he?
you're asking, is he an engineer?
No, I'm asking, is he an engineer?
But he can
You don't have to
certainly-
be an engineer to be a building inspector
Yeah.
and to be enforced for a city that has ordinances. You don't have to, but you have to have knowledge of the construction of a facility to meet codes that are in place.
Right, but our code's pretty specific as to what's required.
Gentlemen, just
Okay.
for the sake of time here, I'll ask one more time. That's the only position we currently have filled, correct? Out of this list?
Correct.
No.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, the ones that I spoke of.
One for you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
Jimmy.
which,
The health department, the health board approved the positions Workforce Development Accreditation Coordinator, Public Health, and BCMH Nurse, Bilingual Health Educator, and Environmental Health, SIT.
Is that environmental health a second full-time?
No, that replaces James, and the position is now sanitation and training.
So instead of part-time, it'd be a full-time position?
It's full-time,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's a sanitation, it's a sanitarian in training, which is under a full-fledged sanitation, yeah,
But on our list, it says environmental health.
right.
So what is it? It's sanitation?
Yeah, yeah. Well, not
Health inspector.
sanitarian, which is a public health classification.
Okay.
They do restaurant inspections, inspections of houses, apartments if needed,
Mosquito spray.
mosquito spraying program, yeah.
We used to have one full-time and a part-time, now we're looking for two full-time instead of a part-time.
No, it's the same position. The sanitarian left.
Yes,
So
I know,
now,
we left.
and you have
But
to
we're
have so many
replacing James
hours.
with the SIT, right?
You have to have so many hours of training and other criteria to earn your sanitarian
Right.
certification.
So it's only one position?
It's only one
We don't have a
position.
part-timer then, we won't have it,
No, we don't have a part-timer.
so.
But I can bring Health Commissioner Iona here if you want details on what these positions do.
I think that's going to be one of our best options.
Sure.
And I mean, I understand as being in charge of the way you are of overseeing those specific positions. I mean, I understand you can speak on their behalf, but I think if we can get the details and make
Yeah, and
that
I
known,
would
especially in
advise
the
you to
time
do
we've been
that.
out.
Yeah.
So we'll extend an invitation. So as of right now, I know these are already in, we've got time here. So these positions, and I think Mr. McCready told me that correct, these are already in the requested budget for 2022. Was that
Right.
correct?
Well, and let me clarify that. Let me clarify that.
No.
Building, so,
I don't think
No,
the
they weren't.
assistants are in the budget.
should I,
Well, Go ahead.
That's what I want to clarify.
Yeah.
The building and zoning code administrator, correct, is
Okay.
in the budget.
Okay.
Again, on the assistant end, it's all gonna be there on the water end, only half of it on the wastewater end, because of James was being paid out of the water completely.
Okay.
Is there enough in wages and wastewater to take on the half of the assistant in the wastewater? Yes, there is.
So that, my question there is, I know.
But
where-
not with these jobs in mind, let me clarify that. Not with these jobs in mind, because they
Okay.
always make enough in salaries or whatever because of overtime and so on, and a retirement. We have Ronnie Beans that retired. So,
Okay.
they wasn't there with these jobs in mind, but there's enough money there because of what was being paid out of those positions.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, so I feel like there's more discussion to be had on this, so.
I agree.
So Julie, when
Make a
do we
motion
need
to table the discussion of proposed ordinance number 5, 2022.
I second that motion. And vote.
Yes.
Strictly myself, yes. Julie, when's the next?
March
available-
14th, did you need 45 minutes?
I think it
6:15
would-
to
I'm
7?
gonna need an hour. I'm gonna need an hour or more.
An hour, 6
Yeah,
to
I-
7?
Why don't you wait till we discuss, because these two here, I need to get with them to see when they're available, because we're gonna have to have at least one special meeting for finance. We may need two, so,
We'll table it to the next, I'll work with
Right.
Julie to find it.
yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
some time there.
Okay.
When are you looking to have a special meeting, prior to the next?
I'm gonna discuss it with them too first, and then I'll make sure everybody knows, I'm trying to get as many, I wanna get through the appropriations first, but I knew Beth wasn't gonna be here tonight. I just have a few questions for my meeting, that's so when we adjourn from his and we'll start mine.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Okay.
And
7 o'clock.
it's been 7 o'clock.
Okay, I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. I am the chair. My members are Dean Holland, who has an excused absence. My other member is Amy May, who has an excused absent. And my alternate is Cheryl Ramos, and she is here. It's basically, I hand-delivered everyone what Beth and I went through. I still have a few questions. I tried to hook up with the mayor. We couldn't get together. So the few items we can discuss, if you have your paper with you, fine. If you don't, when Beth comes back, I'll get with her. And I like when she puts little notes on the side so you can see when there's a large dollar amount, where money's going. I met with the mayor and service director on January 18th. I asked them for a list of their projects. I attached that to the appropriations for everyone. Just so you know, Ron, there was no error. You just had one line item for the paving and stuff. She doesn't use that line item. She corrected, it's really gonna come out 203, 4100, 5, 43, 4300. But she says you buy sold out of that same line item. So that line item is more than the 550,000 that you put in for the paving. It's 600 and some thousand, she has. But you'll get a copy once.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure what you presented gave to me, when I read those numbers.
Should come out of
off.
that supply item, is that the one it is?
That's the line number she gave me, so, yeah,
Yeah,
so
that should be the one, I mean,
you gave me 437, 7700
okay,
dash 5 dash 5203.
yeah, my bad.
Which when I went through them with her, she adjusted, she knew where it came from.
Okay.
Okay. So the questions I have, first is, I went through the list of items that did not match up with last year's, but last year's finance guy's not here. I'll just go right down the list. The position of the assistant law director, did not know that was position. I called and asked you about it. Beth said that that's something that she had nothing of, other than she was told to put one there. So that was one of my questions.
That was in the temporary budget, and that was discussed with Rob Mauer,
Okay,
when he was here.
yeah, I didn't know anything
You were
about
here
it.
too, and you voted on it.
I don't know, I voted on the
temporaries we
temporary, but
did.
not knowing of bodies. I didn't know there was any more bodies added, so I'm just
Yeah.
telling you what I know.
And I didn't hide that. I said who I was hiring and why.
Okay.
And you hired them already?
Yeah, I told you why I was hiring. I said they were gonna start January 1st. I said that all last year. And it was all part of my temporary budget. And I discussed it at length with Chairman Mauer when the temporary budgets were passed.
I just had no knowledge of a new body. I'm just telling you what I know. Beth and I was looking through the labor and all those things of all the departments. When she comes back, she's gonna give me what she figured out, because we put a 1.4% increase raise in. Some she has to move around because that's just the way she does things. I told her that's no big deal, but when you get that, there'll be numbers won't be exactly like we saw on
The first draft?
not the temporary, but the one she gave, printed out for me.
First draft of the
Yeah,
permit,
so they're gonna get changed a little bit. I have a question for, it's 209-4500-5-5200, equipment for cemetery. If you could just tell me what the equipment was, or going to be, it's, looks like, Ronnie, you got 24,000 there. So I get to the page.
It's the trade-in time for a backhoe and then 3 zero turns that they always do, same way the park does it.
Do they do the rental
Yep.
type deal?
Yep.
Okay. Just so the new councilmen know, they do like a rental trade-in, so they keep getting a new piece of equipment because they use it so hard in the summertime. So they get like a trade-in program. John Deere, I don't know if that's who they still go through,
Yeah.
Ron?
Yeah.
They do it
Just
through,
one different one.
yeah, so
Each year
they-
it just keeps rotating.
it's almost like a
Yeah,
lease
okay.
buy, and they just flip them, keep flipping. So every 3 years, 2 years, it's, I think Park and them do it both, don't they, Ron?
Yeah, because what they found out was the trade-in was so much better turning them over quicker than
Yeah.
sitting there and running,
just
driving them into
running
the dirt for 5 years, they're not worth anything.
Understand.
So this year, actually down there is backhoe time.
Okay, because last year was 22, this year it's 50,000, it's 24 more thousand. Do you
gotta
know
be
what the backhoe,
Not offhand, I can try to get you that though.
okay, well, just so you can give us a breakdown, just so we're aware what's, that is.
What's that line item again?
It's 209-4500-5-5200.
And that's in all equipment?
That's under equipment, yes,
Okay.
okay? And then she's gonna move, just so you know, 209-4500-5-5900, the improvements. She is taking that out of 814-815, which is the endowment money. So she moved that to a zero, just so when you look, you know where things are at,
Okay.
okay? Okay, then, under, I'm gonna jump around here, 314-4801. There's 400,000 in appropriations. Do you know what projects you got for that, Ron?
You know, I didn't bring any of that stuff. Would you still have that pamphlet?
There's
The
nothing on it.
Project?
There's nothing on it for this.
No, the project thing
Yeah.
that I gave you.
Your project list has nothing for those line items.
Is that where he's buying, is that where they're buying the jetter out of? I don't have any of that stuff with me.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you. was
That's the only
going
thing I
line item
had,
to line
yeah.
item.
I don't know. She didn't, she said she had that out of, because we already approved the jetter and all that stuff. She has that already.
Do you
That
have
was,
electronic copy of,
no, that's why I said I couldn't,
Yeah, I don't
she's
have
in
any of that.
Arizona, so I couldn't send one, I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I don't have any of it.
Yeah. So that was just I'll get with her about that then, that I'll ask her if that's the jetter, because the same thing in sewer, in 319, 3908, 5200, these are capital improvements, there's 500,000 there. Did you have it earmarked for anything?
Again, I don't have any of that you have there electronically even sent to me.
Okay. It's just, that's
If you
the
give
dollar
me-
amount was in those line items.
Would
And
you
I
give me
could,
both of them again?
okay, the first one is water, 314-4801-5-5200. These are both capital improvements.
And you said that's what, how much?
400,000 in there,
Okay, go ahead, and the next one?
and then it's 319-3908-5-5200, capital improvement, 500,000,
Okay.
okay? Okay. The next one is 437. hate I took my staple out of this, because if I get them backwards, it'll be messed.
Did you number the pages?
What'd you say?
Did you number the pages?
They're numbered, but that's, I just
This
want to get,
one's 34.
I just want to get through these, so then next meeting, when everybody's here, I can have answers, that's all I was trying to get at. Okay, under 437, 7700-5, 5204 Park. There, the 5204, there was 240,000, she moved it, she has 200,000, what did you have earmarked coming out of there? What you had on your list, Ronnie, was 25,000 for pickleball, 35,000 for dining room hall, and 50,000 for the new track, and I have a question about the new track, money. That's 110,000. Do you know what else?
2 pickups, is that right? Is
That's-
that the
I don't
legislation
think,
that got through?
that's not out of there. This is master capital. She told me she had the money already in those line items somewhere else now. She took that money already. So,
And you should have, well, I don't know what she did or where she went, but out of that, we have your last payment to Southside Park. I don't know if that's
Is that
where she's
where-
taking it
if
from.
okay, I can ask her.
And then, I'm trying to think what else we got going on out there. Oh, we just did the, as a matter of fact, everybody should go out there to the dining hall floor. That was 35,000.
that's what you have budgeted, is that what it took?
Yeah, 35. But you saying this line item is, again, what?
You have those 3 items there.
That same line item though, Kelly?
Yeah, that's what you say. And then there's an additional 90,000. I was asking, what was the 90,000?
Like I say, you might have the last, and I don't know
I
what
wrote
she
that
does.
down, I'll ask her that.
Yeah, you have to ask her that.
And then the same, master capital, 437, 7,700, you got $40,000 for the service director.
See, I don't see that one on here at all.
Look under 430, look
I don't
under,
have that, again, I don't have that.
no, she gave, that, I mean, I thought she,
No, I didn't take it, no.
Oh, here.
no.
I passed it down.
I think I have a spare one right here. You can give his back, I have a spare one here. I just remember I had the one I was given to Dean, it says, I'll just give Dean a copy of mine. Just take this one, and then give me his back. I don't know if I got the right place or not. I just popped it up there.
Page.
Page number is page 34.
34.
Yeah.
Not even the stable, I guess, it's a stable too. I was afraid to take that off there, you know what's gonna happen.
I'm not 100% sure, I think it's paving. Because I think I might have taken out of that line item before, last
No,
year.
she has all the money.
No,
for your
I do
paving.
my own too. You'll notice last year I had 40-something thousand in paving.
You have 0 in there last year on this line item.
Okay, I'll have to check.
I mean,
Check with you.
it's,
Yep, I'll check with you. Like
okay.
I said, if you'd have just emailed me all these, I'd have had the answers for you tonight.
I didn't, that's why I tried to meet with you guys when I could, but like I said, I worked till 4. And like I said, Friday, I got in town at 4:15. So you said you was leaving at 4:30, that didn't work out. And this morning, I had State Fire Marshal, I had the fire system company there, State Fire Marshal was there last week. Okay, the next one is 11, okay. 7-Eleven, 3704, 5401.
Page?
I don't know, I gotta get there. I'm just reading you the number.
Where's the page at? 38.
Engineering construction, $291,200.
Say page 38, Mitch.
Yeah.
38, yes. It's 5401, Ronnie.
38.
Should have a star beside it.
What number did you say, Kelly?
38.
Page 38, 5401 is the line item, engineering construction.
There we go. Thank you.
Oh, I'll let you know on that one too.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Okay, because that's, I guess when I asked you for all your projects, that's what the
That
list
might
would
not
have.
be, that might, I mean, might have nothing to do with projects, I don't know.
Okay,
We
well,
might
that,
have.
okay.
I can let you know though.
All right. And then just the last one was the endowment fund, and I think, I don't know, if she uses that as a placeholder, she just puts all that money there. I didn't get to ask her that question, but I'll ask her.
Probably.
But she was letting you know that she took that money from the cemetery, out of that one line that was taken out of the endowment, because it allowed her to do something else, even though she wasn't spending the money, so. Does any of the other council members or committee members have anything, since it's just a short one, just to go through those items there?
You had a star on page 2,
Page
Oh. under auditor.
She was, like, see how she said add 6,000 for training? I wanted you to be able to see that that's what that money was for. That's what I was trying to get her to do when she knows, and we can put in there, so when everybody looks at them, they can see why the number is different compared to the year before. So we can go through quicker in our finance committee, that there's notes like that. That's what I'm trying to get her to
For
do.
training or trainee?
I think it's a trainee for the, I think, for a retirement. But there may be trainees, because if somebody else is gonna retire, which I heard rumor of, okay?
Okay, so we might have 2 retirements in that department.
Yes, that could be true. I've heard nothing from the mayor's office, so until I hear from his office, it don't
You have
count.
to hear from her office.
Well, okay, when I hear from her office, when she comes, we can ask her.
There you go.
Question. Who gave, I didn't receive any of these copies. I mean, are you only giving to the finance committee at this point?
Right now is just the council members, just because it was a preliminary one, and I just needed to get those other numbers, so then I go back to Beth, and then when I get a final one, then council member, you'll get one. They'll have, everybody that'll be part of the budget will have one.
Make sure we get electronic copies.
Because, yeah, you will.
That's what I use.
Yeah.
It's just she was out of town, and I found out she was in Arizona. I knew she was going, I didn't know when she was leaving.
Yeah.
And she left before I could get with her to,
You can scan this one.
yeah, you could, but I
Oh.
printed it and sold it. It's gonna get all changed when I talk to Beth about the numbers.
Hey,
Yeah.
Chairman Kelly, Chairman Ricklick.
Yeah.
So everything you had stars in here, that's what you're getting on, right?
Yeah, those are ones that I was just seeing what, because the dollar
You made it
from
easy
last,
for me then.
from what was spent last year to this year was a large number. That's all I was trying to get information, especially for the new ones. I mean, they're getting, this is a big deal for them. They need to understand how, plus the ones in the courts, and we can explain how the courts ones work compared to the ones that we look at, and just how things go, so they can get a handle of it.
Okay.
I just think it's very overwhelming.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to bring some of the department heads in, or,
But I'd rather
Because
get the
of-
questions answered from those two first and Beth before we bring department heads in, then we can bring them in, they can explain. I would like to see more people. The only people that does presentation here has been the fire chief, that's all I see. I think department heads should give us a little update, what their plans for the next year. And just so we know for next year's appropriations, I'm asking the mayor to get his stuff together in September, October. So we're gonna have a budget for 2023 finished for December. So September, I'm gonna ask him, what's your projects for next year? Let's get it down, let's put it in there and get things going. I know we've done that in the past. I'd rather see permits, so then we don't know about, we know a temporary budget, we don't know what they're buying.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
don't think that,
We're gonna
yeah.
do an annual budget?
And, do I want to do one?
Are we gonna do an annual budget?
Yeah.
Instead of a temporary and then?
Yeah, I want to just do an annual budget, yes.
Excellent.
I want you to give me all your projects. That's why I think it's important in your department head. Give us their projects. We can always back off if we don't have the revenue.
Sure.
Let's get our ideas and let's get them up first. So I don't want the unknown things. I don't want to know about something after the fact. I didn't like, and I'm just, to be honest, I didn't like I saw $50,000 for a new track stadium. Why didn't we know anything about this last year? I don't want to be blindsided. I want time to absorb and ask
We should be
questions.
doing that
I want to be able to answer questions. Like I said, I talk to a lot of people, I ask them, what do you know about what goes on in city government? Well, most of them say they don't know because they don't watch. I said, you need to watch, because it's your money that we're spending.
We need to move on.
Yeah, so. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about what I delivered to you? You will be receiving an electronic copy from the auditor. Ronnie, as soon as you get those back to me, I think she said she'd be in the office tomorrow. So if you get to me tomorrow or Wednesday, then Thursday, hopefully by Thursday, I can get it to everyone. Also, look at your calendars give me a couple days you're available in the evening, that we can go to a finance committee, start like right at 5, if 5 o'clock works, 5:30, whatever the earliest we can make it, okay? I'd like to get through it quickly as possible, because April 1st, we must be passed. So, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. 7:21.
Put my skills to the test here. We might not get through the sanitation. I don't know.
That sound like an auctioneer.
All right,
We got time.
go ahead, Dan.
Okay, I'm gonna call the Public Works and Economics meeting tonight at 7:21. We have a couple things to discuss tonight. The first one is proposed resolution number 9. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of New Philadelphia to apply for Ohio Mid-Eastern Government Association of MEGA Regional Transportation Planning Organization, RTPO, Capital Allocation Program. I'll just turn it over to Mayor or Ronnie, which one you guys want to talk about this one? Just kind of give an update. I mean, most of us know, but the new
Well-
members of council.
I believe it needing passed tonight's a moot point.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, well, no, we're not gonna be able to pass it tonight, but we can get it on the floor.
No, I mean, it had to be passed tonight.
Oh, it did, so,
Yeah, unfortunately, it got to us on the,
Thursday.
what's the 28th, so the 14th, so, of the last council meeting. And, had the opportunity to do it, and it has a deadline of tomorrow, so unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to do it.
all right, do I have a motion to table proposed resolution number 9?
No table.
Is it, it's.
Oh, we don't have to do
You don't
anything.
have
Pass
to
it
do
out of
anything,
committee.
no action.
Okay, no action
It
on that.
dies.
But
Okay,
I
sorry.
have a
Right.
question, just for
Yes, Mrs.
information.
Ramos.
What was the city's share on this bike trail?
You guys passed a resolution, I don't know the number, but I think the number was 441. But you guys passed that probably 6, 8 months ago, wasn't it? Somewhere in there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we was trying to get 250 of it paid for.
Okay. So then why did we need this? If we already passed a resolution that you could apply
Because you're going out
this?
for a grant to get $250,000. You said what your local share was. The previous ordinance that you passed had that local share on it of 441,000.
Okay,
I was trying to get a grant for 250,000 of that 441. That's why we need it.
I probably voted no on that. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
The next thing we have to talk about is proposed ordinance number 4, which we had at our last meeting. And we had a few questions. I know the law director wanted a request of how the ordinance was written before. Was that correct?
Which one are you looking at?
The sanitation.
Sanitation.
Oh, yeah, that's what I did. I went back and looked at what we did before, and I changed the numbers and
Okay.
sent it out.
Yeah, so I mean, that's basically, I mean, we don't have to act tonight on anything and stuff. I just figured I'd piggyback it on the other one just so we could talk about it, or
And that was
if
why I
anybody.
that's why in the proposed one that you have, I put it clear out to June,
Yeah.
depending on how fast you guys wanted to pass it,
Does
or if you didn't want to pass it at all.
any members have any, now that we've had a couple weeks to ponder on it?
as far as the proposal of the $1.25 a month, I would counter that at a lower rate to maybe 50 cents, just simply because inflation, everybody's getting nickel and dimed, whether it's at the gas station or at the grocery store. And I believe the sanitation account is pretty healthy. So I think if the city shares a little bit of the cost increase and the citizens do, I think maybe a better route. But that's what I think, and then we could revisit the additional, maybe another 50 cents next year, as we're not sure where the economy's gonna go for the next 6 months.
That seems fair to me. Mrs. Ramos, do you have any?
Or the other option is just to hold off
where it
on
is.
this and, revisit it. Not kill it, but revisit, table it and revisit it,
Well, I kinda,
since the fund is healthy.
in my opinion, it was more of like, I liked the whole, I was okay with the whole $1.25, but I kinda like Mish's version of that. Maybe that's kinda meeting in the middle of Mrs. Ramos and me, just because of the fact that, you know, the I mean, it's getting more expensive. You know, it just at least combat it a little bit. I know the funds are in good shape now, but, you know, if we don't do anything, we're gonna be looking at, you know, what kind of an increase here next year or next couple of years, you know? We haven't visited in 7 years. That's why he's asking so much for, I think. You know, like, I know it's Sullivan, but I'm kinda on board with Councilman Pace on a lowered rate for now, and we can revisit it next year and see where we are.
Can I have a,
Hey,
go.
go ahead.
For the expense, do we get any, do we have any special pricing when it comes to fuel? Do we just, I mean, do we fill up if it's $3.75, we pay $3.75?
It
or
gets
do we-
bid out
It
every
gets
year.
bid out, okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how that worked,
But it's,
especially with.
it's very pennies on the, you know what I mean? It's-
Yeah, I just wondered if it went up, that obviously helps offset. Just looking at how much oil went up just over the last couple of days, how that could, at least a little bit of it could help offset some of that, but I just wasn't sure how.
And I'm not sure
that worked.
what it's gonna be yet, because we'll open on, I think, the 14th.
So that's open for bid?
Yeah.
Okay, just wondering.
All right.
Are there, well, I have one more question. Are there any special projects that we're like also saving money for in that department, Ronnie?
Well, I'd love to, but, I mean, you
That are
know.
needed, that we're gonna have to face?
Oh, I'd love to see a front loader with cans and on certain alleys or something like that. I would, but it's impossible. We tried to get on that road before, and cans are $500,000, and a truck's another,
I say they're
400 and something thousand.
a lot higher than a regular truck.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Of course, you only need a one man on it. on
Yeah.
that.
So it kind of offsets it.
All right, we're getting close to deadline time here. Is there gonna be any action on proposed ordinance 4? Or well, actually, it would be a different ordinance if we do a different,
So would that be a motion?
maybe, it would be like
Yeah,
a, like a
be a
motion.
motion.
Would it be a motion to amend ordinance 4, 2022?
Is that
Or
what,
Or would it just be?
change the
or would
rate?
it just be-
you wanna amend it to 50 cents, or what do you wanna do?
Yes.
Yes.
Just change it.
Then you just, make a motion to have the law director amend it to 50 cents.
All right, and I'd like to
Or
make,
just rewrite this ordinance, right? Because we didn't ask for this.
No, Cheryl, what I tried to do is anticipate so that you can have a meaningful discussion on it, that's why I said
With
it
the
out
numbers.
ahead of time.
Right. So we don't have to amend it, right? You just write a new one.
Yeah, you just make a motion to have the law director,
Draw up.
draw a point that says 50 cents.
well, I would like to make a motion for the law director to write one up with a 50-cent increase,
And I'll second that.
to be revisited again. then.
Revisit it in a year.
Yeah.
I second
Do
that.
that.
All right, we'll have a vote. Mr. Pace?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mrs.
Oh,
Ramos?
one other thing, do you wanna add that to the agenda, or do you want it back in committee?
We'll just add it to the next meeting, once we can get a look at the proposed
So by
resolution.
next meeting, do you wanna add it to the agenda for the full council, or do you want it to come back to your committee at the 50-cent mark?
Yeah, we can do that, yes. Yeah, we'll do that. Well, I'll schedule a
Committee,
time with Julie
okay.
at the next,
It's only gonna take a
March
few
14th
minutes.
meeting.
Let me make
Okay.
sure it's right.
So that way we have a chance to look at the proposed warrant, if that's okay with you.
No, that works, yeah, we're good.
You guys finished the vote.
And Mrs. Ramos?
Yes.
Okay. That
Does
vote was
everybody
3-0.
have ordinance 220?
Is there anything else to come before committee? Motion to adjourn?
That's the land
So
sale.
moved. Mr. Pace, adjourn.
It's been out since the 14th.
She does.
That was proposed legislation.
Well, they were gonna
You
do,
can.
Ronnie was doing something.
You can if you want, but she knows everything
If he wants to
recorded.
change
Video and stuff.
that,
Yeah,
We're on.
I usually just have her, unless it's something.
It is now 7:30. This meeting of New Philadelphia City Council will now come to order. Would you please rise and remain standing for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Father, we just thank you for this day, and we thank you for the opportunity to gather here tonight to be about the work of the citizens of New Philadelphia. We just pray your guidance on our decision-making here this evening. Father, we continue to pray for all those that live in New Philadelphia. We pray for their health. We pray for their safety. Father, we also want to pause and pray for the country of Ukraine. If the war that's tearing our country apart, we just pray for peace. We just pray for all those citizens over there, and just have your hand upon them, Father. We just ask this all in thy Son's name. Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, roll call.
Mr. Holland, Mr. Lanzer.
Here?
Mrs. May. Mr. Pace.
Here.
Mrs. Ramos.
Here.
Mr. Ricklick.
Present.
Mr. Seldenright.
Here.
All right, let it be known that Mrs. Bay and Mr. Holland are both have excused absences this evening, as well as our auditor, Beth Gundy. All right, do we have any, everybody's had a chance to look at the agenda. Do we have any additions and corrections to the agenda for this evening? All right, hearing none, I would accept a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's council meeting.
I'll make,
Nobody wants, okay. Mr. Pace, thank you. We need a second. Mrs. Ramos, thank you. All right, any further discussion by council administration? Roll call.
Mr. Seldenright.
Here.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes or no? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer. Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mr. Ricklick.
Yes.
All right, thank you. The agenda has been approved. All right, minutes, everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from our last council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to approve. Mr. Lanzer. Mrs. Ramos, a second, thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mr. Ricklick.
Yes.
Mr. Seldenright.
Yes.
All right, correspondence, Ms. Courtwright.
To Clerk of Council from Treasurer Tom Gerber. This is dated February 15th, 2022. This is the Investment and Savings Report. To Clerk of Council from Alex McCarthy with the Tuscarawas County Homeland Security Agency dated February 16th, 2022. This is an invoice for $4,419.25, which is the renewal of the city's 2022 contractual agreement with the Tuscarawas County Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency. To President Kemp, and this is from Councilwoman Amy May, dated February 25th, 2022, and this is a request for an excused absence from tonight's council meeting. To President Kemp from Law Director Fate, dated February 25th, 2022. This is an email that states urgent, please assign to Salary Committee for Monday with Ordinance 5/2022 as the attachment. President Kemp asked Mr. Seldenright to take this into his committee. To President Kemp from Law Director Fate, dated February 25th, 2022. This is an email that states urgent, please assign to Public Works with Resolution 9/2022 as the attachment. And President Kemp asked Mr. Lanzer to take this into his committee. To Council and Administration from Jamie Bailey, Executive Administrative Assistant for the Mayor, dated February 28th, 2022. This is the Mayor's month-end report. And to Council and Administration from Mayor Day, dated February 28th, 2022. And this is the Mayor's report. And that concludes correspondence for this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Ms. Courtwright. All right, we'll move into our administrative reports. First up, Mayor Day.
All right, Mr. President, we're going to the podium once again,
All right.
because we have some special presentations to do here tonight. Before we get to that, I'd like to touch on a few things that I have in my mayor's report that I sent you earlier today. There are not enough crossing guards at New Philadelphia schools. Last week, crossing guard coordinator Captain Joe Skinner informed Safety Director Popham and myself that 2 more guards resigned their positions. I reached out to New Philadelphia School Superintendent Wentworth to ask if the school district could help, but she replied saying the school district is also suffering from staff shortages. Currently, the position pays $10 an hour. Raising that rate is under consideration if that would help generate more interest. Crossing guards work 10 to 12 hours per week. If any residents can help, please contact the mayor's office or Captain Skinner at the police department. On behalf of the residents and businesses here in New Philadelphia, I send out our best wishes to Harry Eaton following his retirement as the executive director of the Tuscarawas County Economic Development Corporation. For the past 20 years, Mr. Eaton has been at the forefront of many key business developments in our county, including the redevelopment of the former Reeves Mill property in Dover, the former Alsco plant in Janayton Hutton, and most recently, the location of Provia in Strasburg. Here in New Philadelphia, Mr. Eaton was responsible for the restoration of the former ODOT property on West High Avenue, where B-Dubs is now, and was instrumental in the donation, cleanup, and redevelopment of the former Howden Buffalo Joy property on South Broadway. The County Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors hired Ohio native Marla Ackridge as Mr. Eaton's successor. Ms. Ackridge has an extensive economic development background, and once she's settled in, I will invite her here to speak to City Council. She recently stopped by the mayor's office, and the conversation we had was very encouraging. My annual State of the City report is nearly finished. It will be issued later this week after it's proofread and the necessary revisions made. The report will be posted on the city's website and linked to the city's social media. And of course, city council members and members of the administration will also receive it. Despite the challenges our city faced last year in the second year of the pandemic, the state of our city as we enter 2022 remains strong and optimistic. New Philadelphia Police Auxiliary Officers Bob Everett and Brian Klopper are with us tonight. There they are. I wanted to make sure Bob was here, but I saw Brian in the hallway. But they're here to receive certificates of commendation for the life-saving action they took earlier this month. On February 4th, Bob Everett and Brian Klopper were off duty, plowing snow in the neighborhood of Lakeview Road Northwest, where they heard a call come over the radio of a house at 1306 Lakeview being on fire. Both went to the house and were able to rescue an elderly woman who was inside before fire consumed the house. To show our appreciation of their efforts, City Safety Director Popham and myself would like to present certificates of commendation to each officer. The certificates read as follows. Given on this 28th day of February 2022 on behalf of the residents of the City of New Philadelphia, Mayor Joel B. Day and Safety Director Greg Popham are pleased to commend Robert Everett and Brian Klopper for their heroic actions on February 4th, 2022. At approximately 10:30 a.m., the New Philadelphia Police Department received a call of a fire inside a residence at 1306 Lakeview Road Northwest. The fire department was en route to this location. Auxiliary officers Everett and Klopper were out clearing snow in the area as civilians. They heard the call come over the radio and responded to the area to attempt to help if they were able. When they arrived, they noticed that smoke was starting to fill the house. They saw an elderly female inside trying to get an elderly male out of the residence. Everett and Klopper were able to get the female from the house and save her from being overcome by the smoke. They made multiple attempts to go back inside and get the male subject to safety, but were overpowered by the smoke. Officers Everett and Klopper have gone above and beyond the scope of their appointment and have shown the outstanding qualities of heroism and selflessness, which embody those of the auxiliary members of our police department. So gentlemen, if you'd step forward, I'd like to present you with these letters of commendation. Brian, thank you. Well done. We greatly appreciate it.
Mayor?
You're welcome.
Can we get the official?
Any words from council members? Mr. Rickler?
Yeah, I'd like to thank both of those gentlemen for, like you said, going above and beyond their call of duty. I know both of those gentlemen, but both good men, glad to have you, and the citizens of New Philadelphia, are glad to have you being part of our community. Thank you very much.
It's, and you knew you couldn't get away without me saying it.
There you go.
The microphone is yours. No, and Brian and I talked on the way over, and I told him that he had to make a long speech. Of course, I didn't go over well, so I'd be glad to say something if I was given the opportunity. Quite frankly, Brian and I are very thankful that the city of New Philadelphia allows us to be in this position. For me, it's not just a position, I guess, it's a life, and I'm thankful that the chief, the safety director, the mayor, and everyone else allows us to continue in this position. I mean, we did what we needed to do, we did what we felt we had to do. I'm somewhat sad that we couldn't get on in the house and rescue Mr. Harris, but as the mayor indicated, that smoke was billowing and it just was virtually impossible without gear. But on behalf of Brian and I, we humbly thank everyone, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve the citizens of New Philly as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Brian. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to give the balance of my time to Mr. Tom Parvizo, who's here tonight, I believe, with a check.
Couple of them there.
2 checks.
Cheryl's excited.
Talk about that.
Cheryl's excited, aren't you,
Talk
Cheryl?
about that.
Should we have him state his name so we know who he is?
Yeah, and his address.
And his address?
Who is this guy?
I'm gonna pass out QDA's annual report. And if you'll go to page 5, it's pretty well capsulized what we've done over the last couple of years as far as scholarships is concerned.
Thank you.
Younger picture.
Will you sign mine?
Yeah. Just enough, for good count. Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'm here representing QDA Educational Foundation and my superintendent, Dr. Richard Bradley. First of all, thanks to the mayor, law director, and council members. We appreciate the opportunity that you afforded us a few years back. And as you can see in our annual report, we've given out 10 scholarships have been awarded to date, totaling $9,000. At the top of the photo on 5 are scholarship winners this past spring from QDA. They're graduates of QDA, and that's their diplomas. And then they were awarded, the students are named and what they were awarded. So we gave out $3,500 last year in scholarships. To date, we've given out $9,000 in scholarships. And this has all been possible, again, thanks to the mayor, the law director, and council for allowing us the opportunity to go down to the New Philly Airport and put in all energy efficient windows. And then also we parlayed that into the sanitation trucks. And by the way, even with COVID and everything, I will tell you this, we were down 3 advertisers at the airport. We just picked up a new one, Newland Realty. Lady called me and her advertising is up. And I think I have 2 more, hopefully here before long, to replace the 2 that are vacant. And today, Lightning Sign just installed a advertisement on the side of the sanitation truck for Larry Wood, Wood Electric, and Wood's Tall Timbers. So I think with that, our sanitation trucks are full, I believe. I'll have to check it, but I think they are on that. With that, tonight, I'm happy to present the mayor with 2 checks, and the reason for 2 checks, they're earmarked. One is for the airport windows, which comes to $3,360, and the other one is for the sanitation trucks, which come to $2,880, which should give us a total of $6,240.
What's next, Tom? We gotta put something on something else.
And if you don't have any use for that money, I know where it can go.
We do.
I'll take that towards the pickleball court.
Hey, Tom, can get a picture of you and the mayor.
Let me get a picture.
Oh,
okay.
You can't turn down a photo op.
No, not these two. Yeah. That's like the Quaker Club photo. Look at Tommy running.
In closing, again, we sincerely appreciate it. We're gonna keep working at it. Also, we are trying to look at some other avenues where we could possibly partner with the city to do some type of advertising to bring in some funds. So with that, I will tell you also, doing the math real quick, I think to date, since we've started this project, we're a little over $21,000 we've given to this, back to the city. So it's been a good partnership, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
I will be happy to answer any questions at this point in time, if anybody has any.
I'd just like to say, I'm proud to be on the board of directors of the QDA, and was proud to be on the school board when we started the QDA back in 2003, and it's been a great partnership for the school and for the city, and Dr. Ferrati had that vision to start this digital school, and it's taken off, and there's a real need in the state of Ohio, and so congratulations to what you do, Tom, and for QDA.
Thank you very much, and that's why I wanted to bring the annual report in, because it not only talks about the advertising, but the students and stuff that's going on here. Yes?
I don't have a question, Tom, but I just want to thank you you do a lot of stuff, whether that's through the park board, raising money for the various projects throughout the city, even this one that, you said $21,000 went back to the city. I think you, do a phenomenal job, and I think for Jimmy and I, a couple of the younger ones on city council can look to somebody like you that really puts their time in and, gives back to the city for nothing other than the love of the city, so, I really appreciate you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
That's from Woody Beat Me. Right? That's from Woody beating you, right?
That's right. That's right. Pay forward. because
Pay
you can't
forward.
pay back.
There you go.
There you go.
Well said.
Thank you.
Any other comments for Tom? Thanks,
Any other
Tom.
questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. President, that concludes my
All
report.
right, great report. All right, move on to Service Director, Mr. McAbeer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm gonna hand out a quick flyer so everybody knows where the area that I'm talking about here.
Thank you.
This right here, I'm gonna talk about, give you guys we've got 2 bigger projects going on that everybody's gonna start noticing. If you remember last year, we had the big gas line project. The pamphlet I handed out tonight is just as large, if not larger. 13,500 feet of new gas line in that area, 241 new services. And we don't have a start date there yet, but I just want to put this on everybody's radar when this does start. Most of it is in, different wards, so try to take note of it. Any questions, please just ask. Again, if we remember last year, there was plenty of traffic, snarled and different things, so bear that in mind. As you see, the biggest part of this is on front, from Bank Lane all the way over to St. Clair in some areas. But again, another 13,500 feet of gas line going in. Once I get a start date, I will inform everybody at that time, but right now we do not. One other project that's big that's going around, and this will come from Tuscarawas Avenue at the Frontier office. They're going to put fiber to houses now. This will start by the end of the month. What you're gonna see a lot of is a lot of bore pits, and the bore pits are no more than 3 foot by 3 foot to bore their line in. Won't be as big as a gas line, and you'll see what they call fiber optic hubs. There'll be 7 or 8 of those in that area. They're about as big as a traffic box. So those will be what's in the curb lawn strip right there. You'll see some quasi box, just electrical current boxes in there. So that'll all start here at the end of March. Again, so someone calls, hey, what's going on? If you're in that area of town, fiber optic, you get over this area, we're doing gas lines. Okay, so I just want to make everybody aware of fiber will start by the end of this month. Gas, once I get a start date, I'll inform everybody of that at that time. Right now, we do not have a start date for that. Also, I want to update everybody on the fence that we've relocated down at Great All. The project is completed as far as fencing, but the 23rd and 24th, Southway will come in and put the gates on. They're having problems finishing gates or getting gates. So once that's done, on the 23rd, 24th, we will get the gates. The mayor and I will do a walkthrough, I think a day or so after that, or right around that time, and then that'll be completed. So with that, I'd ask that 7/2022 be passed tonight. That's the $50,000 that we've already got from the state biennial budget, because that bill's gonna come due here soon. It's just a thing that we've already had, everything. I believe it's 7/2022. It may be wrong, but I believe it is. I don't even know if it got.
It's not on the agenda.
No, isn't it? Okay, well, we'll wait till next time.
We don't have enough people to suspend.
Well, that's fine. Yep, I just wanna make sure everybody knew it. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Mr. McAbeer? Mrs. Ramos?
Mr. McBair, where did you say the fiber was going in the same area?
No, that's gas. This is only gas.
Oh, okay, Tuscarawas Avenue. Okay,
This is only gas
up in my
here.
ward.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know where the shop sits there, just past Emmett Avenue on Tusk? That's their main hub, and they're gonna work out in that area as
Okay.
far as the money will take them, but you'll see, this is just, but remember, this is just gas here.
All right, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Mr. McAbear, that proposed 7 was put in mine, taken out of mine, put in salary, so I'm not sure where that's at right now. That was the one you sent me and told me to ignore. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm glad you said that, Councilman Long. The other one- Yeah, if we can get it, someone have a meeting
that
on
would
it,
Shouldn't be
get it
a
assigned.
word.
That would almost be a park.
That's the ODNR.
That's almost
Yeah,
a
Mr.
park.
Fate, that's the one we had discussed once it had come through, as to why it would have been requested to salary committee. And I think there was just some miscommunication when that was
Yeah,
being
that's supposed to be,
transferred over.
yeah, that's supposed to be in Dan's,
Should be in Public Works, yeah.
Public Works.
So I can schedule that along with my next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we do, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you send me the official request again,
Right,
Mr.
right.
President.
Yeah, I put in, on February 12th, it said, it needs assigned to Public Works and Economic Development, ordinance 222, and resolution.
But then it was
722.
changed,
But
right?
within that, there was a couple.
There's another
that got
email.
switched.
There was a
Yeah.
salary one, and I said, take that one out. and put
Yeah,
it in
we got it
yours.
switched around.
I'll get it to you, Dan.
What does I know you don't have a start date, but what is the timeline as far as the duration of the gas line project?
They think that they'll be in and out in about 2.5 months.
Well, it's pretty quick.
They have one other piece they're doing, but I don't see it involving, it's out of town, it's just out past Old Town, out of the city limits, just past, the entrance to the South Side Park. I think that's to get Mush Rush himself gas, because he put the building out there, and that's who does all the gas lines for. Yeah, you don't see it usually out there like that, but that's one of the pieces that does fall under Philly, that they did, let me know that. But again, it's not in the city limits, but just in case anybody would know, I'm glad you did bring that up, because just a little piece there, and again, I think it's just to serve Mr. Mushrush, which does all the gas lines for them, so I'm sure that was a thing you did it for.
I'm
Yes.
sure it's like last year, I know they end up doing some additional work that they found as they were doing the projects. And
Yeah,
so that
and
project lasted a lot longer than anticipated just because they replaced more gas lines.
again, yeah, exactly. Whenever they got on Beaver Avenue, they got in Beaver Avenue with Swiss cheese. And that made them go all the way up to the bridge and right over to Kreider, which wasn't in the original. So finding nothing, 2.5 months,
Right.
finding some stuff that could get extended.
That fiber optics, is that, they're gonna allow homeowners to hook on and get
Yes,
high-speed internet?
to home.
That's huge.
This is, they're landing at to home fiber optic.
That's gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah, they're the first provider in town to provide.
That's why they're trying to jump out in front of
Fiber.
everything.
So that's great.
And that's why they're gonna service that section. So, yes.
It's private.
Do they have plans to do a lot of the city? I mean, you said they're gonna start up Tusk Avenue, correct, or?
Tusk Avenue right now, because of the main hub sitting there, you know, that
Yeah.
low-hanging fruit type thing. So they're gonna try to get that picked off and see how much money can go. He didn't have a real, we're gonna get all the way to 4th Street and Gooding or anything like that. It's like, we gotta get out through there, but, I mean, with those hubs, with 7 hubs, I'm going by memory, I can't remember the footage that he'd have with that, but it was pretty substantial,
That's amazing, that's huge for our area.
yeah.
It's huge.
Any other
Any other,
questions?
any other questions for the citizen? Thanks, Mr. McAreer.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Safety Director, Mr. Popham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report. I would like to echo, though, from the mayor's report on the shortage of the crossing guards. If anyone out there knows someone, we definitely need the help.
Do you think the salary is a inhibitor or just?
I have no idea. I mean, it could be. And we have discussed it just a little bit,
Yeah.
but, once again, we're just, we're losing crossing guards almost, well, this last week, 2 at one time, so, doesn't take long and then we're in the hole.
Is there, do you have to be, just like if you were to work for the school, is there the background check? Do you have to go through a process? Is there an age requirement? Is there anything, just so we can help look to say, hey,
Basically, at this point, anybody that can, stand
sign,
up,
pass the
hold a
background
sign
check.
and walk a quarter of the way out into the,
Okay.
crosswalk and back, that's,
All those kids.
Yeah, okay.
yes.
And the times are, say the times, they have to be available.
I'm not actually sure exactly what the times are, but some of them are, and it's like hour and a half in the morning, and then another hour and a half in the afternoon. I know school lets out at like 2:30 to probably 3 something, and, but the other side, the more people we have, the less of an inconvenience the job could be for someone. So, but we're just trying to get our numbers up.
Question. So we're short now with crossing guards. Are the crossing guards that we have, are they located closer to the elementary schools than they are at the high school?
No, they're just different locations at this point.
I would just think that elementary school kids that are walking would need to make sure they don't cut across traffic when they're not supposed to as compared to high school students. So I don't know if that's something to think about, spacing them out where they're needed, most likely at probably west if they're crossing that Tusk, or I don't know.
course,
I'm sure you guys have already thought of that. That's just
Sure,
me
and-
thinking out loud.
I
not
mean,
telling you what to do.
that's considered, but then the other thing that happens, if you have someone that's been a crossing guard, say at a certain intersection for the last
They don't
2 or
wanna do
3 years, and you move them somewhere,
Then they quit.
then tomorrow they say, why quit? So,
double-edged sword.
yes,
Quit. All
I
right,
just would appreciate the help.
all right, well, hey, we're streaming today, so maybe someone will hear that message and give us a call.
Thank you.
All right, the auditor, Mrs. Gundy, is excused this evening. Mr. Gerber, treasurer.
No report tonight, sir.
All right, thank you, Tom. Law director, Mr. Pate.
I don't have an official report, but I want to comment on current events. My heart really goes out to the people of Ukraine right now. There's a story that's true. I saw it and I researched it to confirm it was true. There were 4 brothers during World War II, 4 Jewish brothers, that 3 of them were murdered by the Nazis in concentration camp. The 4th brother joined the army and fought against the Nazis and died fighting against the Nazis. His son is President Zelensky, who's the president that's fighting the Russians today. And he's fighting our enemies. And when the United States asked him to offer to help him retreat, to fly him out of there into exile, he said, the fight's here, send me ammunition, because I'm not going anywhere. So there's ways online that you can look to help contribute to that. They're fighting our enemies, they're extremely heroic. It's an example of leadership that we should all follow and that is praiseworthy. And I hope you'll keep them in your prayers and that you'll go online and look to how you can contribute in any way to help with the situation there, because they certainly deserve our support. And it's just a very impressive story, and my heart really goes out to those people, and I think it's awe-inspiring what they're doing there, fighting our enemies. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Pate? Well said. Thanks, Marvin. Move on to our Board of Commission reports. Planning Commission, Mayor Day.
Mr. President, the Planning Commission will meet here in council chambers on Tuesday, March 8th at 1 p.m. The law director will continue to educate the commission members on Airbnbs and, what possible regulations could be adopted by council to handle those. And also, Dee Grossman, the executive director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, will be attending to give her input on that.
Thank you, Mayor Day. Move on to Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. Backamere.
Thank you, Mr. President. With no variance request to be heard, the March 14th Board of Zoning Appeals meeting at 5 p.m. Is canceled.
All right, we move on to the Airport Commission, Mr. Seldenwright.
He wanted me to make a report since Mr. Seldenwright wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, okay.
We finally got a quorum and we were able to meet the 22nd, last Tuesday, at 6 p.m. here in council chambers, and had our first organizational meeting of the new year with new members. And the committee voted for Mr. Kennedy is now the airport chair, and we voted for Alex McCarthy as our secretary for the airport commission. And that's about, we didn't have really a whole lot of new business going on in there, other than we're still trying to figure out the money for the airport, what we're gonna get from the infrastructure bill and everything like that. So.
All right. Any questions from Mr. Alonso? Yes, Mr. Backamere.
If I could, with the infrastructure bill, we got some guidance on it today with the FAA and Michael Baker, and 5 years at $159 each year.
Yeah.
So right now, early talks, we don't know what they'll exactly 100% pay for, but it appears that everybody in the room, or anybody on the Zoom meeting, would like to update the lobby of the FBO. I know there's some issues there with the door that leads off onto the tarmac there that gets water in it. So I believe, right now, we believe the restrooms, the meeting room, and the entire facility there in the front. And I think we settled on $120,000 for that. And then,
But that's aside from the normal money that we've been saving year over year.
correct, yeah.
For
this is
our
just that.
runway project.
Yeah. And then we'll back that money up for 4 years and look at possibly a new T-hanger, so. But once we know if they'll do both of those projects, I'm sure either Councilman Sellenwright or we can report on it. So once we know, but we do know that amount, that total, so. Again, that was just this morning.
That's good news, so.
That's good news. A
All
lot of
right.
money for a little airport.
Yeah, that's right. Move on to Park Board, Mr. Pace.
The Park Board met on February 16th. The hot topic was the pickleball courts at Tuscarora Park. They're very close to meeting their funding goals. So if anybody's interested in donating to the project, to contact the Tuscarora Park Foundation, and they will be able to take your check. They're very close, so I'll be happy to see that project get started and finish.
Yeah, Mr. Farbizo and myself be glad to take their money, right, Tom? We'll take a check. But
And then we'll be meeting next, would it be the third Wednesday of next month?
All right, thanks,
That's all I
man.
have.
Any questions for the Park Board?
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr.
Thanks to the mayor, the banner that has a thermometer on it for the Tuscarora Park Foundation pickleball courts should be put up in the square, I think, tomorrow, March 1st. So as you drive, you can see it, and currently we're at $138,200 and some dollars. So we need to get to 220. So that's where we are. But we're gaining ground.
Yes, yes, we are. All right, we'll move on to the Health Board. Mr. Holland is excused absence. We'll move on to Council Committee reports. Finance, Mr. Ricklick.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met this evening at 7 PM. Present was myself, the chair, and Cheryl Ramos. We just basically went over the appropriation for 2022, just had a few questions for the mayor and service director to clarify. We will be meeting in probably a special meeting between now and next council meeting to start the review of the appropriations with all council members. Hopefully we get through. We have to pass it by April 1st to have a budget for the city, a balanced budget for the city. So we'll be meeting there, and then hopefully we can have that done prior to the April 1st deadline without any other extra meetings. Meeting was adjourned at 7:21. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Mr. Ricklick? Not, let's see, Safety, Health and Services, Mr. Holland is excused. Dan, Public Works and Economic Development.
Yes, Mr. President, we, Public Works and Economics meeting met this evening directly following Mr. Ricklick's Finance Committee meeting tonight. And we discussed proposed ordinance number 4, which is to do with the proposal from the service director on increasing our sanitation rates by $1.25. After some discussions, and we had a proposal by Mr. Pace, and we all voted unanimously to get the proper legislation drawn up for a 50-cent increase instead of $1.25. And we're gonna revisit that after 1 year if it passes through council.
All right, any questions for Mr. Lonzer? Now we'll move on to zoning and annexation. Mrs. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
All right. Move on to salary. Mr. Seldenwright.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Salary Committee met this evening at 6:15. Myself and Mr. Kelly Ricklick were the two members in attendance. We discussed and passed potential ordinance, or passed to approve to council potential ordinance 3/2022 in regards to the hours worked for the custodians, setting a wage to help offset the hours worked, or not offset, but to allow the hours worked without review each time. We continued on to the non-bargaining bargaining salary positions, and had started discussing potential ordinance number 5, 2022, which is now going to be tabled after discussion for further discussion, to be scheduled later on next upcoming meetings.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Seldonright? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Cemetery Committee. Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
All right. Move on to Contact and Special. Mrs. Bay is excused. So now we're up to visitors' comments. The floor is now open for visitor comments. Anyone wishing to address council should rise, state their name and address, and address all comments to the chair. Do we have anybody wishing to address council this evening? Nobody sitting on the back wall? All right, we'll move on to council comments. Any council members have any comments they wish to talk about this evening? Hearing none, we'll move into our legislative agenda.
We have no legislation to read.
Whoa, all right. All right, we'll move on. Is there any unfinished or old business? Any new business to be brought before council this evening? I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
Sure, you're up.
Oh, I move that we adjourn.
All right, thank you. We are adjourned at 8:11. Thanks, council members. We are adjourned.
This will